Good morning, everybody. This is Dr. Mary Gardner with Lap of Love. It is Wednesday and about 9 a.m. here in California. So hello, everybody across the country. I am going to talk today about vocalization in our geriatric or elder cats. And it's something near and dear to my heart because I actually had an elder cat that did this. So I'll tell you a little bit about Bodie, my boy. He was actually... I was at the pet store getting dog food, and so there was a cat rescue there with tons of cats available for adoption. And there was this old gray tiger, and so when I looked at his history, they were giving him fluids every other day. And so I thought, oh, this poor guy, like, who's going to adopt this old boy that's got kidney failure and has to be given fluids every other day? And so I'm kind of a sucker for the old cats, the old skinny cats, and I thought, well, I'll adopt him. And so I did, and he was with me for about 3 more years. And I don't know how old he was, but he was like the typical skinny old cat, and just full of love. But unfortunately, maybe about 2 years ago, he started doing that weird vocalization, particularly at night. So I'll give you my impression of that, which is, wow, wow. And I would go look for him, and he would just be walking down the hallway like there was nothing weird going on. So I didn't know why he was making this vocalization as a pet parent, but I had some ideas as a veterinarian why he was doing that. So it was really, I'll admit, it was really annoying because it usually happened at like 12 o'clock when I just fell asleep is when he'd start to vocalize. And it's a very common symptom in our old cats. And there's a few reasons why, and there's a few things that we could do to help them. But just first and foremost, know that it's something you should definitely report to your veterinarian, because there could be something that's manageable, or it could be an underlying disease that it's best to get looked at sooner than later. So a lot of people don't actually even tell the veterinarian that their cat is having this vocalization because they think it's normal, or he's just getting old, so he doesn't know what he's doing, and they just kind of not think of it as that much of an issue. But it really can be, and not only for the pet because they might be in pain or they might be disoriented, but then also for the family trying to manage that loud vocalization, whether it's during the day or in the middle of the night. So I'll go over some of the main reasons why cats vocalize, and there's a lot of them. And this is, again, not the typical meow. This is the meow kind of meow, and not just the little sassy tomcat that's out in the neighborhood. So this is the old guys. So first is cognitive dysfunction. So very similar to dementia in humans, cats and dogs both get cognitive dysfunction, and in dogs, about 50% of dogs over the age of 10 have some form of cognition issues. In cats, about 28% of cats between the ages of 11 and 14 have cognition issues, and then at least 50% of cats over the age of 15 and older have cognition. So that's a massive part of our population to have cognition issues. And most cats, unless there's a systemic disease, usually live to about 15 to even 20. I've helped 23-year-old kitty cats say goodbye. So they do typically live longer than dogs, and so we're seeing them a lot older. So we're seeing a lot more with cognition issues. So that's the first reason why. And unfortunately, we don't have a cause. We don't know of a cause. And a lot has to do with probably the free radicals in their system, just like in humans. So there's a lot of research being done in humans, which will hopefully help our pet population as things are discovered over time. So that's our first reason for the crying, if you will. The second is hyperthyroidism. It's also very common in older cats, and so that's the thyroid gland is just overreactive, and producing hormones that can make them agitated, restless. You'll see them getting a lot skinnier. So hypothyroid, which happens more in dogs, we see them getting a little bit chunkier, and in cats we see them getting skinnier because they are usually prone to hyperthyroidism. So that could be a cause for that howling, just because they're agitated, and that's what that disease does. That disease also can increase their blood pressure. So systemic hypertension, just high blood pressure. So cats and dogs get high blood pressure. And one of the reasons or one of the causes of high blood pressure is hyperthyroidism, but just general hyperthyroidism, high blood pressure, just like in humans, cats can get that too. And so that could also give cause for that crazy vocalization. Something else that cats get is hearing loss. So just like some of us will have old age hearing loss, dogs get it, and so do cats. And it's called presbycusis. That's the technical term, but just old age hearing loss. And if you can imagine, that could be very distressing to some cats and dogs as well. And so if they just don't know what's going on, or they get startled, that could cause them some distress. And that happens all time during the day. And so I think I see more of the howling, that during the day with the deafness, because things are happening outside. The lawn people are there, people are ringing the doorbells, and people are moving around. So it's something I see more with the deafness is a problem with the howling during the day, all times of day, and at night is more when I see the cognition. Another reason for that howling, if you will, is pain. So our kitty cats are prone to osteoarthritis, just like in dogs. And actually, there's a lot of research that shows a massive amount of cats that have some form of arthritis, yet they never present any symptoms to the family or to the veterinarian, or at least symptoms that we may know about. So when I'm hurting and I hurt my knee or something like that, or my foot because I'm dancing too much or something like that, I'm going to start limping around, or I'm going to complain to all my friends. Well, cats typically don't complain. Sometimes they do when they want their food bowl filled, but they typically kind of keep things to themselves. They deal with pain differently than we do. I know that sometimes people say, cats hide their pain better, or dogs hide their pain better, but they just deal with it differently. They don't complain as much. And so cats that are in pain, we may not even notice it if we're not looking for certain signs. So cats will absolutely get some form of arthritis, and again, the numbers are staggering, over 90% with the cats, the older cats. And we don't usually see this unless we do x-rays. But also our kitty cats are not going to the clinics as often as dogs. So the cats may have some pain and discomfort and some other diseases, but we just don't bring them in as often as we do dogs. So 30% of our population in the clinic that we see, so 30% of the pets that we see in clinics are cats. So it's much lower than dogs. So a lot of times things are happening to our kitty cats that we just don't know, because they're just not showing the signs or normal vocalizing their pain. So with cats, you might notice that they're hesitant to jump up. So if you've got their food bowl somewhere that's a little bit higher, especially if you have dogs like I do that would love to get my cat food, so I have to place it in a higher location. So if they're hesitant to either jump up or jump down, so if you think about jumping up, a cat has to use their back legs. So if their hips are hurting, that's going to be more painful for them to jump up. But when they jump down, it's more pressure on their shoulders, and they could have arthritis in their shoulders. And so you may see that they jump up, but they just don't jump down. So you have to be very mindful of how the pet's behavior has changed. Or maybe jumping up on your bed and they don't jump up much anymore. So I have a kitty cat that's a three-legged cat, and so I have to make sure she's got her little, I call them the princess stairs, because she has to have her little princess stairs up to the bed and to her food bowl, because she's missing one of her back legs. So hesitant to jump up. Also is what we call a stilted gait, so they kind of stand there like they're on stilts, if you will. Sorry, my background. So if you just imagine if they're walking just a little bit kind of hesitant and as if they're on stilts. That's just something that we see. And also as doctors, when we give a physical exam to the cats, we're going to feel for swelling, just from other changes. We may even feel crackles, if you will, in their joints, which I hate feeling. It gives me the EBGBs because I know that's painful for them. But we're gonna be looking for these things. Now, cats. The difficult thing with cats is when they go into the clinic, they're not usually loving that journey. So when they get to the clinic, they kind of curl up in a little ball, usually in their cage, and then we have to peel them out of their cage, and they sit there and they don't even move. So we want to make sure that they're comfortable in the clinic and giving them time to adjust, giving them time to walk around and roam in the exam room. So When I was in general practice, I'd have like a little obstacle course just for them to kind of see how they jump up and down and walk around. But we just may want to give them some extra time in the clinic just to chillax a little bit. And certainly some pheromones that is available out there at pet stores that you could use to help, and your veterinarian can recommend these as well, that you can help to spray their crate before you bring them into the clinic, or bring them with the towel that's got the spray on it. That's a huge help for them. So pain is another reason for nighttime vocalization, or really all-time vocalization. And then the last thing I want to just touch on is kidney disease. So gosh, so many of our kitties have kidney disease. And that can also increase the blood pressure, so the systemic hypertension like I talked about. It can decrease blood flow to the brain. And so all these problems or all these diseases can lead to that nighttime vocalization. So again, it's cognitive dysfunction, which is the primary one. We have hyperthyroid, just high blood pressure, primary high blood pressure, just because. It could also be caused by other diseases like kidney disease. Pain is a big one, and then also deafness, also some blindness too. So cats do lose their vision as they get older, and also some of the diseases I talked about can lead to blindness as well. So a lot of times with kidney failure, they'll have high blood pressure, and then that disrupts the blood flow to the eyes as well. And so a full exam is really important. So how do you know what your cat's got? And if they're showing any signs of this weird vocalization at night, so I would definitely first recommend you take some videos, take some audio, so that way you can play it for your veterinarian. Write down some changes that you've noticed over time, so what they can and can't jump on, how they're positioning themselves when they lay down. Are they mostly laying on one side and not another? So maybe that's painful on one side. And just take a really good journal and diary of your cat's behavior. And absolutely see your veterinarian to do a good full exam, and also some x-rays and blood work. And that way that they can actually see if their kidneys are functioning well, if there's how their blood pressure is doing, if there's any skeletal changes, and that way we can address those first, because those are really important that we don't want to. Oh, here's a question. Sorry, I got off track. So is it only a concern if they vocalize at night? Absolutely not, Emily. It's a concern if they vocalize at any time. So cats meow, right? So you guys know that there's the normal meow, like I want food, I want love, stuff like that. And then there's this weird howl, if you say. Now, there's also, if you have like an indoor cat and an outdoor cat comes that you don't know, comes to the window and they start to do that meow. That's just because they're a little sassy to the cat that's outside, but just for no reason at all. They're just wandering around and they're meow. Or you see them in front of their litter box, then that's a sign that something may be up. That's just not normal. Another thing, just while I'm at it with the litter box, a lot of times we have high litter boxes, especially if they have kidney disease or they have diabetes or something, so they're urinating a lot. So we have these high litter box sides to the litter box. Well, that's hard for these guys to get into, especially if they have arthritis. So making sure that the entrance is lower, also that they know where their kitty box or their litter box is, because if they have cognitive dysfunction, they might forget where it's at. So they get a little nervous because they don't know where it is. And I've had, for Bodie, my cat, I used to have to put wee-wee pads just out front of the litter box just in case he didn't make it there in time. But so all these little signs, if you notice anything different, cats are creatures of habit. And that's why when you move or things change, or you have another person or furry one in your home, cats kind of are the ones that freak out a little bit because they just don't like change. So if you see change happening in your cat, that's probably something to think about. So it's not just at night, so that's a great question. But it just helps me know, like, okay, if it's all throughout the day or if it's at night, if it's certain times of the day. In humans, we have this, I took a flatter Tupperware that goes under the bed and made it into a litter box. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. That's fantastic, Emily. So those under the bed, that's good. That's really good. Those under the bed storage units is what I'm thinking, containers. Using that as a litter box, that's a fantastic idea. Thank you so much. So treating pain, this is another question that's coming through in senior cats. We have a lot of good options for treating pain that your veterinarian can give. It's not just pills. So I know some cats You don't want to try to pill them. There's some liquids that we could put on their diet. There's even some new things coming out like transdermal that we could rub on the ear pinna. But we want to make sure that everything is that we're treating the right thing, right? So we don't want to give pain management unless we know for sure that they're in pain. So that's why it's really important to see a veterinarian, just to either get a true diagnosis or rule those things out. Like that would be great if you're like, nope, everything else is fine, blood work is great, x-rays is great. That's what we want to see. You know, sometimes when I was in general practice, I would get the owner to approve blood work and x-rays, and then there was a part of me that felt bad when I didn't find anything, because I know that they would feel like, well, I just spent $500 and you found nothing, right? That's actually a good thing, so let's remember that. But the number one issue for that weird vocalization, and I'm sorry if you hear, I've got some neighbor down the street is I think turning a tree into mulch right now, perfect timing. But that number one reason for that weird vocalization is cognition. So that cognitive dysfunction, like we see in humans, is the number one reason for that, and we don't know of a cause for that. It is still, you know, being researched, but there's a lot of things that we can give, that we can do. So management of that, there are some wonderful supplements. Again, please talk to your veterinarian, because there are some supplements that are toxic to cats that we can give to dogs, that we don't want to give to kitty cats. So definitely make sure that you've researched that they're safe for cats. But there's also some environmental management that we could do to not only help cats that have cognitive dysfunction, but if they also have deafness or blindness and they're having troubles getting around the house. So environmental changes, having maybe one area or one room where their litter box is, where their food is fed. So just keeping it a certain system. So again, like I said, they don't like change. So keeping everything routine is very important. They want to feel safe. And that's what sometimes if we have kids and other pets in the house and they kind of feel like they're getting bowled over, that might be a little bit nerve-wracking. And we'll also see that the cats might seek your attention a little bit more than normal. And that may be, you know, I can't read a cat's brain, but sometimes it's because they just need that comfort. So we also see that they get a little bit more warm and friendly towards their golden years. But so environmental changes, some pheromones, like I already mentioned, going to the clinic. Well, there's a lot of diffusers that are available that can help, that you can get, and we'll post some links at the end with some resources. But just environmental enrichment and stimulation is also important. These guys don't want to just lay around in the sunbeam, although laying in a sunbeam sounds really good right now. But you know, playing games with them and the laser lights and all these things. So if you think about our nursing homes and our hospice care for humans, they want them engaged. They want them, you know, doing games. They want family members to come over. So we want to make sure that the cats aren't, he's an old cat, he wants to be by himself, right? So we want to, I mean, not that I'm saying go grab the poor cat that's laying in the sunbeam, but we want to make sure that we provide that mental stimulation. And you know, it's also really nice towards the end. We don't have a lot of time with these guys, right? So they don't live long enough. And so we want to make sure that we spend as much time as we can. So again, I just wanted to recap that vocalization at any time. We just see it more often at night. You know, I love it. What can you do to stimulate lazy older cats? That might be a question for me in a few years. What can you do to stimulate Mary to get off the couch? But just, you know, every cat is different. So find out what stimulates them. The laser. I could spend $400 on toys, and then they like the paper bag that I bring home, right? So whatever stimulates them, and maybe it's the you know, those things that you can put in your window so that way they can kind of sit outside of the window if they're an indoor only cat, because they like to look at the birds and things like that. And so, I mean, I have a bird feeder, and the cat is always staring at the birds. I don't know if that's more torture to them or not, but all right, so let me just go back to my recap before I end. So it's the vocalization happens at any time. We do see it a little bit more at night, and that's where it's going to cause a problem for the family. And I know that, you know, we love our pets, but I would like a full night's sleep. And with Bodhi, it was really causing a lot of anxiety within the family. And so, and you know, people would look at me like, well, don't you know how to fix that? And although he did have kidney failure, his blood pressure was good. He was on everything he needed to be. He also had cognition issues. So I was doing everything that I'm saying, which helped, but it didn't get rid of it all the way. and I just dealt with it because it was Bodhi. But the main point is I wanted to make sure that he was under good pain control and that I had his kidney failure on check as best as I can. So again, it's cognition issues, it's hyperthyroid, it's high blood pressure, deafness, blindness, pain is a big one, and kidney disease. There's a couple more that could be the cause of this, but those are the main ones. I definitely suggest getting a diagnosis first, or ruling out those diseases to make sure that we can manage those, or that we can just check them off the box. And then if it is just cognition, and I don't mean just cognition, it's a big issue, but we don't have to give medications or anything like that. We can give some supplements to help. There's some great diets out there, and everything I'm saying is very true for dogs. A lot is true for dogs. Tony writes liver disease. That's what my boy has. He does all those things you said. Oh, I'm sorry, Tony, to hear that your boy's got liver disease, and all these diseases, because if they're not feeling well or they're feeling sick or something like that, this is how they complain too sometimes. So we just want to make sure that we keep them very comfortable. Don't change their environment too much. Keep it stable. Keep it enriched. They love you, so be present as much as you can. I think I regret that the most now that Bodhi's not with me anymore, is that I didn't spend as much time as I wish I did, and comforted him as much as I did. So, the other thing I did for Bodhi too, just because I forget, I go down rabbit holes, is I put night lights around my house. So I had these little tiny night lights that went on at certain times of the day, or at night really, or when the lights got to a certain dimness, that they would come on automatically, and that really helped him too. But I did it kind of like a runway to his litter box, so that way he knew where he was going. So all these things can be helpful. But we're going to post some links with some tips and some resources. Certainly see your veterinarian. We have some resources on our website, but keeping a journal and watching your cat, taking pictures and doing videos, that will be very helpful for your veterinarian. So when you go there, you're prepared with how he can or cannot jump, what changes that you've seen, even eating habits. So if they're at the water bowl more, I see a lot of cats in kidney disease or diabetes where they'll just like stand over the water bowl, basically like water's dripping off their little beards, because they just can't get enough. To write these things down, these are not normal. And over time, the new normal becomes the normal, right? And so we want to think of how they were maybe 3 years ago. Like, were they doing that? Because stuff happens slowly over time. And we do tend to forget. It happens to me personally. So it also happens when we're watching our kitty cats and our dogs as well. So just be mindful of how they were a few years ago and how they've changed now, and write all these things down for your veterinarian. This is super helpful, because when you go to the clinic, you're going to forget stuff, right? And even for me, I have a little cheat sheet here to remember what I want to tell you guys, because once I get on these live videos, I start forgetting what I want to say, or noises happen over there and I get distracted, or I see messages and I want to answer questions. So write down the things that you want to talk to your veterinarian about. That is so helpful. I can tell you that, promise you that as a veterinarian. There's my dog going crazy. So it'll be super helpful, and have those pictures and images, and keep in contact with them. And it's really important to do blood work and x-rays. Every one of you should be having blood work and x-rays done more often as a human. So even our dogs and cats should get it done, so we can rule some things out and really focus on the problem at hand. So know that you're not alone. I've gone through the howling cat myself, so I understand what struggles it can be, and how difficult it would be also when you're traveling, if you're worried about boarding them. See if you can get a vet tech or a friend or a family member to come in and take care of your cat and just love on them while you're gone. So I really hope this was a helpful video. And like I said, we're posting some resources for you guys. And if you have more questions, you can certainly post them later on, and share this with anybody that you know that's got an old kitty cat, because they may not be telling you that they're up at night. So again, thank you everybody, and I'll see you guys next month for our next live video.